cubes. In this case, we can say that d cubed is the same as d times d times d, multiplying it to itself 3 times. Same here. We can also say that e cubed is the same as 2e times 2e times 2e. So same as the others. So here are the steps. First one is get the cube root of the first and last terms to form the binomial factor. So again, get the cube root of the first and last terms. Then the trinomial factor will consist of the square of the first term plus or minus the product of the first and second term plus the square of the last term. So let's elaborate this one. So let's proceed with the first example here, which is d cubed plus 8e cubed. Now, following the steps, so again, the first step there is for you to get the cube root of the first and last terms. Since we only have 2 terms here, so this will serve as your first term, and the other one, this one will be your first, and the other one will be your second. So get its cube roots. So get the cube root of the cube, that is equal to d. Then get the cube root of 8e cubed, that is equal to 2e. Okay, so from there, you need to have the binomial factor. So meaning your first factor will be the first and last term, the cube root of the first and last term. So basically, we have the first one, which is d plus 2e. The ones that we get from the cube roots of the first and the last term. And next, proceed with the trinomial factor based from the second step here. So it says there, trinomial factor will consist of the square of the first term. So square this. So simply that is d squared. Next, plus or minus. Since we have plus here, you're going to have minus here. So that's the pattern for this part. So minus the product of the first and second term. So we'll just multiply these two. D times 2e is equal to 2de plus, so your last term will be the square of the last term. So square this. So that will be 4e squared. So therefore, this will now be the factor of the first example. So we have d plus 2e multiplied by d squared minus 2de plus 4e squared. So this will now be your final answer. Next. So let's now have the next example, which is 27x cubed minus k cubed. So again, proceed with your first step, get the cube roots. So the cube root of 27x cubed is equal to 3x. Next, cube root of k cubed is simply equal to k. So combining these two will be your first binomial factor. So you have 3x minus k. So get the square of the first term. So we have 9x squared. So that is 3x times 3x plus, so if the first binomial factor is minus, then all of the operation for the trinomial factor will be addition. So 9x squared, then proceed with multiplying 3x and then k. So we have 3kx plus the square of the last term. So k times k is k squared. So this will be the answer for the next example. Next, the next example, which is a cubed plus 64. So again, get the cube root of the first term. So cube root of a cube is equal to a cube root of 64 is equal to 4. So from there, combine these two. So we have a plus 4. So to get the first term in the trinomial, square the first term. So a times a is a squared. Multiply these two. So we have minus 4a plus square this. 4 times 4 is 60. So therefore, this will now be your factor, a plus 4 times a squared minus 4a plus 60. So that will be the answer for the third example. Let us now proceed with factoring perfect square trinomial. So here are the three examples that we're going to discuss for factoring the perfect square trinomial. So why is it perfect square trinomial? So later on, you will learn why it is called as perfect square trinomial. So here are the steps that we need to do in factoring perfect square trinomial. So first step is for you to get the square root of the first and last terms. So that's the first step, and list down the square root as sum and difference of two terms as the case may be. So either way of the two that you can use for your factoring. So the first one here is if we have 2 plus here, then the factors will be also both addition, or you may write this down as a square. And if one of the operations here will be minus before the plus one, meaning both factors or both binomials will be difference. And that is a difference of 2 squares. Okay, so let's proceed. So let's proceed with the first example, which is x squared plus 14x plus 49. Now, following the steps given there, so let's have the first one, which is get the square root of the first and the last term. So this is our first term, and this is the last term. So just get the square roots of the two. So square root of x squared is simply equal to x. Square root of 49 is equal to 9. And so from there, just list it down. So they're both plus, since the operation here is addition. So we have x plus 9 times x plus 9, or you may say the square of x plus 9. Okay, so you may either choose from these two, how will you write the factors of the perfect square triangle. Okay, next we have another example here. So again, just get the square roots of the two. So you have square root of x squared will be equal to x. Square root of 81y squared is equal to 9y. So proceeding with that, since we have minus here, so both binomials will be difference. So x minus 9y, and we have x minus 9y. Or simply we can say x minus 9y, or the square of x minus 9y. So here's the answer. And for the last one, we have again get the square root of the first and last term. So square root of 9y squared is 3y. Square root of 16 is equal to 4. So since they are both addition here, so we will use addition for the binomials. So we have 3y plus 4 and another 3y plus 4, or simply that will be equal to the square of 3y plus 4. So that's it for the perfect square trinomial. See you in our next video lesson.
Wow! Congratulations!